To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take up arms against a sea of troubles and read Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell is certainly not a book I would normally review on this sci-fi fantasy channel, but because of that oddity is one of the reasons that I wanted to make this review, because I do think it is worthwhile, whether you're a genre reader in any genre, fantasy, sci-fi, or otherwise, to diversify your reading. And Hamnet is one of the most beautiful novels that I've read in quite some time, and so I wanted to talk about it. In fact, it was so good that I had to reread Hamlet after I finished it because I wanted to have that experience and that side by side, and I'm not breaking ground by saying Hamlet is, of course, incredible. By the way, if you haven't read Hamlet or seen a performance, why not? It's one of the best plays, if not the best play of all time. It's like all genres at once. It's absolutely fantasy. It's like horror, suspense, murder mystery, all so good. But what is the book Hamnet about? It's only about 300 pages, and it's primarily about William Shakespeare's relationship and how he met and married his wife, whose name is Agnes in this book, which is a potential name for his wife, which is more popularly known as Anne, and him losing his son to the plague when it visits his village. And that's truly it. And I'm not like spoiling anything. The first page tells us that Hamnet passes away and that name is very clearly identified with the name Hamlet. And in many cases, those are the same name. The thing I love most about this work is the depth of human experience that is communicated in this book, whether it is the love between Shakespeare and Agnes, whether it is the companionship of the children, whether it is how family can both be a prison but also a solace, a place to find contentment, and also a place where one can feel trapped. The beauty of everyday life as well as the beauty of ambition, all sort of simultaneously existing in this tale that's actually quite small. I mean, for a tale about the most famous writer in the history of the world, a lot of it is not about Shakespeare himself, but life in this town, his family. And the prose in this book is just jaw-dropping. It is like lightly, I'm trying to think of a metaphor to express how beautiful it is, and I'm falling short. It's like drifting peacefully on a sea that is just slowly bobbing you up and down in this sunshine, and you feel every molecule of water and the warmth of the sun and the sea and the salt on your skin. Like because I'm not Maggie O'Farrell, I'm struggling to put into words how much this book makes you feel from its description, from its writing style, from its viewpoint inside its characters, from its really beautiful narrative voice. It's very difficult to describe, except that it was truly just a joy to read. And I think on a very basic level, that should be enough for you to hopefully pick this book up. And I think what's so beautiful about that everyday human emotion that is everywhere in this book is that is what makes Shakespeare great. I mean, you read King Lear, and somehow that can be adapted to like an ancient Japanese tale by Akira Kurosawa or a modern business epic like Succession, because there's so much true human emotion that is expressed in these plays. And the question in this book is like, where does that come from? And it's the roots of Shakespeare's experience in his own family and how he viewed the world and how he interacted with it. But at the same time, it's not just praising, and in fact, doesn't really praise the man Shakespeare as this genius walking amongst us who just understands human emotion. It actually praises everyone around him for their life, how they interact, everyday people that are around him that also share this human experience. In fact, one of the choices that I think O'Farrell makes in this that is so wonderful is Shakespeare's name does not appear in this book. It's about 307 pages, at least in my edition. William and Shakespeare, the words do not occur. Every time that character is mentioned, he is either Hamnet's father, Agnes's husband, Mary's son. It is his relation to other people that defines who he is. It's incredibly powerful for probably one of the most famous people in the history of the world. This is a reflection of the people around him, not just great man in himself, which I think is a beautiful sentiment, and also helps. Many times when I read historical fictions, I struggle with the fact that like it's making a big deal about like, the history and kind of the big like, nods. Like if you're reading about a Napoleon historical fiction, like Austerlitz is going to be a big deal, Waterloo is going to be a big deal, or like, you read about ancient Rome and they talk about General Julius Caesar. There's kind of like hints to you. That's part of the fun I think a lot of people have with historical fiction, but it's kind of always rubbed me the wrong way as almost not fan servicey, but sort of I don't know, drawing attention to the historical nature of the tale. And this almost does the opposite, where the historical nature of the playwright is secondary to the human experiences happening around this tale. It's so lovely. And I also think based on that description, I think especially for fantasy readers, there are some fantastical elements to Agnes. It sort of is references that her mom might have been some sort of like witch or more spiritually minded person, and that has passed down to her some of these instincts. But more so than just the actual fantastical elements, I think it highlights the fantastical elements that exist in real everyday life, in everything from parenting to play to family dynamics to work. And that is a joy for someone who loves that genre. And so that's another reason why I wanted to take time to talk about this book on this channel, because I think fantasy readers, especially those who struggle with maybe contemporary fiction or accessing more literary stuff, will really find a home in Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. So this kind of rode the edge for me between best of all time and universal recommend. I am going to give it a universal recommend because it's a wonderful book. I think everyone can read it and absolutely love it. I'm so glad I did. There's a film coming out soon, so if you have a chance, check it out before then. Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I really enjoyed it. Have you read it? Would you consider reading? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, first in, last out.